What's up, guys and girls? Welcome back to the channel. I am John, and if you haven't seen our last video, go check it out now. We're going to dive deeper into a specific area, and that's the 3-week Kansas City part, kind of what that consisted of, because really there's kind of a lot of cool information in here that just enough for its own video. So here we go.
3, 2, 1.
All right, guys. So the LETP structure for this 3 weeks includes obviously the classroom section, the technical training center, and lodging and per diem. I'm going to talk about those particular sections here. So weeks 3 through 5 of the engineer program for BNSF is all takes place in Kansas City at the Technical Training Center, which is located at Johnson County Community College. And they actually have a really large building that they take up the vast majority of. And they train not just engineers and conductors here, but they also train welders, mechanical engineers, as in like engineering, train masters, and a whole bunch of other crafts, which was really cool to get to see some of those classrooms while we were there. Really, first impression of the facilities was pretty cool. It definitely was modern. You know, every one of our stations had a computer for us to use to follow along with presentations and to do projects with. And it was pretty cool. It was very, very cool. Now, one thing I will say, which at first, when I first got there, I thought was kind of stupid. They got these orange boxes around the doors in the hallway, and they're pretty particular about safety here. And people will tell you, hey, don't stand in an orange box. Don't stand in an orange box. And I think by the end of the first day, I understood why there was an orange box there, because I almost witnessed somebody's soul getting relocated into another classroom because they were in an orange box and almost got taken out by a very heavy security door. They take security really serious on security and safety, real serious on campus. Every day's job safety briefing, internal security, lots of cameras, lots of rules on, walkways and things like that, and external security as well. Got to talk to some of the campus police guys, and they always have a strong presence there along campus during, all hours of the day, which was nice because, a lot of us are leaving our vehicles out there and unknown place. It was good to see all that. And they definitely have a lot of modern safety features in the classrooms as well. Honestly, I was just really impressed with everything regarding the campus. Well, let's talk about lodging. When you go there, they are going to put you up in a hotel. I had asked about taking our RV up there and just getting a per diem for that and just finding our own campground. And they said, no, I'm welcome to bring my camper, but I'm going to be responsible for paying for the site and won't get a per diem for that. That was fine. We stayed at the Extended Stay America over on Metcalf. Pretty decent place. Really didn't have to worry about anything other than coffee and food, really. Staff over there were really cool. And so we had to buy very, very little while we were there. And yes, like I just said a minute ago, you do get a per diem for being there. What that per diem is based on your agreements for the territory you're on. Santa Fe side, BN side, that kind of thing. So that's going to vary, but your road foreman, when you start your class, will bring you up to speed, and your local chairman for engineers will bring you up to speed on what that is before you go. Cool thing about this I didn't know about and was kind of unexpected is your spouses and family are allowed to join you and stay in the room with you. I think that was a very cool thing to allow. Taylor actually came up at the end of my second week and then drove home with me after the final. I did see I'd say a fair amount of people had their wives up there, and a couple of them had their small babies up there. And so it's cool to see that, the family vibe was allowed to take place there. And I think that goes a long ways. And like I said, the facilities were clean and comfortable. They would actually come and clean the rooms once a week and change out linens, which was really nice. They did at our facility provide a very simple breakfast, like, Jimmy Dean breakfast burritos and sausage and biscuits. My favorite part, honestly, was they had coffee there in the lounge area 24/7. That was the best thing about it. And like I said earlier, the staff was very kind and accommodating. Just overall, just a great experience with that facility. So moving on, let's talk about the engineer training program, the classroom section. So this consisted of 3 weeks of work, like I said, Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day. There were 10 people in our class, which was the one of two of the 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. classes. And we had 5 Amarillo guys, 4 Tulsa, and 1 Edgemont. Shout out to you guys. You guys were awesome. I think total there were 60 engineer students there for the same 3 weeks we were. As far as instructors go, it seems like all the instructors come from the craft, and which I think is an absolute necessary thing. They structure out the classroom portion, like I said, in 3 weeks. Pretty much week 1 is just straight death by PowerPoint, and you have some ODFs. I forgot what that stands for, but basically it's this little plastic rail controller, and they give you the same simulator that you do for the big simulators on your desktop, and you practice around the controls a little bit. But it is right out of the gate death by PowerPoint over G-Core, air braking, train handling, and SSI. There's not much to say about it. You just hit the ground running and covering ground a lot, and a lot of it. So week 2, you start doing half a day of net sim runs and half a day of classroom. Very, very, very fast paced, because there's a lot of ground to cover in all this. And then week 3 starts your review, your midterm test. You're still doing net sims, classroom review, and then your final exam. This is where you are going to see where you're sitting at. The reviews is your chance to ask questions, even more on things you feel weak on, or maybe things you didn't do very well on during your midterm. You're finishing up net sims, and they're getting more complicated and they're getting longer. And then, like I said, review and then final exam on the Friday of week 3. And that is a pass or fail. So as far as the exam goes, it's 100 questions. It's pass or fail. If you fail it, you have 30 days, and then you can retest once. If you don't pass it again, your time at BNSF is over. My thoughts and review on the whole thing is that the program was very well laid out, and it was easy to navigate and know where you're at and where we were going. And so it was just easy to follow along. However, with that said, it is very, very fast paced. You're covering a lot of material. You're reviewing material from your conductor days. You're throwing in new engineer material that you haven't done before. And then you're taking that same material you should know or already know and deep diving into it even more, really focused on an operations standpoint from being an engineer, which is good, but now I'm looking at a bunch of rules and from kind of a different standpoint than I, originally did as a conductor. And it's been very educational. The net sims, I mean, they were about as realistic as you could get without building an entire steel cab of a train, sticking it in a room. Have the full control stands, a massive big screen monitor up there. And, I think even some of the chairs even try to mimic motion a little bit. I will say this, that to do well in the class, you are going to be required to study outside of the classroom. I would say an average of 1 to 2 hours a day at minimum. And you need to start that on day one, because if you don't, you're covering so much information, it's going to be easy to forget the information you've already gone over. And if you're not staying up to speed with it right out of the gate, you're going to get behind really, really quick. And so just my advice, plan for 1 to 2 hours a day of studying after class. And that seemed to be about my average, and utilizing flashcards went a long way. Did have the weekends off, which was nice. With as much as you're cranking down in class and studying, you do need to have time to kick back, relax, unwind a little bit. And did a little bit of studying over the weekends. Didn't hit it too hard, but definitely kept the information fresh and on the brain before Monday morning. Now let's talk about the final exam. The final exam was hard, but at the same time, it wasn't. This test is tricky, not so much because they made it super hard. They made it to where if you haven't been studying and deep diving into the material and definitions and processes and steps and when to do this or when to do that, you're not going to recognize when certain things come into play, or you're not going to recognize the correct or wrong information on these questions. All the questions are multiple choice. It was 100 questions. Like I said, they're all multiple choice, and you have to have a 90% or better passing rate to pass the exam. So what I was talking about with questions is, no processes and steps for things like inspections, locomotive conditions, compliances, when you need to do this air test, when you need to do this type of air test, things like that, how to set out a locomotive. They list very specific steps and equipment or services you cut in and out, things like that. If you don't know the information 100%, they're going to give you a scenario. It's may have 5 choices, but those 5 choices are 8 steps on how to set out a locomotive, let's say. And if you don't know those steps by heart, you're not going to be able to pick out which ones are the right ones and which ones are the wrong ones. So my overall impression with the program and the facilities down there in Kansas City was very, very good. Had a very positive experience down there. It was a lot of hard work, but got to spend some time with friends and family down there in Kansas City. And we also really enjoyed ourselves as well. I would encourage anybody that's going to, have fun as well, but take it seriously, and make sure you don't put your job at jeopardy because you didn't put forth the effort. But like I said, at the same time, go out and have fun. There's memories to be made there and to be had. It was a good time. I'm glad I went there. It's definitely something I'm going to remember for quite some time. We'll have more on the next video. You guys be safe out there. Here we go.